Did y'all happen to cover, because I came in late, the Nielsen numbers are out for Mandalorian.
Oh,
No, we
oh
have
my
not.
gosh.
So let's go ahead and let me just go ahead and give you the skinny.
Yeah. Hey,
So
Why am I
I
not
may
surprised?
try to cover this a little. I might do a video of
Well
this
timed.
later. To me, it's like whatever at this point. The Mandalorian does debut in original content, the number 3 spot at 823 million minutes watched. And you might say, well, with a 35-minute episode, boy, that's huge. Of course, there's a problem. This debuted on a Wednesday, and there's a significant amount of binge watching the first 16 episodes again before that. Not to mention the fact, when you juxtapose that to what Samba reported, and you go ahead and acknowledge the fact that Disney has been crickets as to the ratings of this show, should tell you everything. Now, if you're wondering further, let me go ahead and put this into perspective. Back in 2020, Nielsen, for the premiere of Season 2 of The Mandalorian, which, by the way, had roughly 15 million fewer subscribers on Disney Plus at that point in North America, which is where Nielsen is measuring. 1.03 billion minutes watched in that opening week, and that was with 8 fewer episodes to binge during that week to get up to that point than where we are now, with vastly fewer subs. It's a mess. It
So
doesn't
this
matter
is-
that it's in
this is-
third, Go ahead.
Well, this is breaking news. So let's give the hard facts out real quick, and then we'll do some analysis of it. And then I want to provide some extra context for everybody out there. And again, we did not intend to do this. We will get to the NCU before the end of the show, folks, the Nintendo Cinematic Universe. But again, breaking news, we need to cover it. Out of Nielsen, The Mandalorian overall places 5th in its very first week for season 3, 5th overall, falling. And I think this is something to really take note of. Falling to The Last of Us.
Ooh.
And I just cannot see maybe a year or 2 years ago us believing that The Last of Us was the kind of cultural phenomenon that would take down the premier Star Wars show. So I don't know if The Last of Us has become something that people are latching onto that strongly, or if Star Wars has fallen. What say all of you in regards to this?
I'm going to look up real quick while you're talking just to see. I don't remember what the
I say
runtime
it's
was
little
that week for
column
The
A,
Last of
little
Us.
column B. But
I think it's less of a matter of a takedown and more of a matter of the Star Wars right now is just whimpering all on its own. It's like it's not much of a takedown if your opponent doesn't put up a fight, and that's kind of where Star Wars is at right now. And I say that as someone who's been watching this season.
Well, let's say this. Has anybody watched We Have a Ghost on Netflix?
No.
Never heard of her.
Lorena,
No, but
I've never
have.
heard of this, and it nearly beat The Mandalorian.
I've never heard of that, but I did watch the Murdaugh Murders, a Southern Scandal. I did watch that.
Well, that guy was a psychopath.
So just a little bit of perspective. You've got a 50-minute runtime on The Last of Us for that episode 8, and The Mandalorian, I believe, was 35 minutes.
Here's where I'm a little bit critical, though. Shouldn't The Mandalorian have had people watching, sort of buffering and getting caught up? Should that not have? I mean, that's usually what happens with those debut episodes.
Oh, no, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. That's what I was getting at earlier, was a significant portion of that 823 million minutes watched is people re-binging the earlier seasons. And that's what I'm saying, is that's 200 million, more than 200 million minutes fewer than in the same first week of the debut of season 2 in 2020. And that's when there was 8 fewer episodes to re-binge leading into the intro to season 2.
And significantly fewer subs.
Yeah.
All while Gina Carano was trending on Twitter.
I have a confession to make.
Go for it.
Yeah.
I'm one of the many people who actually binge watched the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian more than watching the current season of it, because of how they've done it, as well as what they've done to Gina Carano. It's like I got a feeling that Jon Favreau had a spot on the early season, but then he had to rewrite that. And this is me. I could be wrong. He could have, like, all the parts were long and drawn out and all that with backstories and everything, including with the guy who was the original voice of Jar Jar Binks and all of that. I guarantee you, in those spots, there were probably like at least some of those could have been spots where Gina Carano could have been in it. But unfortunately, Kathleen Kennedy just went on ahead and decided to go ahead and fire her for some tweets and everything that social media posts that she made. So the fans dropped out of that and stopped watching that. Like it, and this season got Mandalorian fans in a big split right now.
Sure.
Let me
Now,
add a
those are
little
great
color.
points.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, bro.
No, go ahead. And then I want to show something to give some additional context. But go ahead, Lorena.
No, I'm just going to add a little bit to what Hughes just said. Granted, Cara Dune was not my favorite character on The Mandalorian. My favorite character actually happened to be Moff Gideon. That aside, the quality of season 3 was so bad. And you saw that decline happening in season 2. As a matter of fact, I almost dropped out midway of season 2 because it was so awful. So I think the overall quality of the show declining is what really turned a lot of people off from watching. The Gina Carano thing was definitely a catalyst, but I wouldn't say for everyone. It was just more of the show is just not that good.
Mm-hmm.
I want to piggyback.
Yeah, and John
off
Favreau
of,
he may be getting pulled too thin. I mean,
I want to
that's
piggyback off
crazy.
of Lorena real quick there. I think it's two things. I think when it comes to the Gina Carano stuff, I think some people forget that is while it was a big deal here in this space, that is still mostly isolated to people that are paying attention to the culture war on some level. For most of your normies that are Disney Plus subscribers, it's not the Gina Carano being fired deal. It's that there's just been consistency in lack of quality content being put out on Disney Plus when it comes to Star Wars. So like, okay, Book of Boba Fett was awful. Kenobi was awful. Nobody watched Andor. They just weren't interested. And so they're like, well, they just went 0 for 3. Why am I going to waste my time watching another one? Clearly, they're on a downward trend in terms of quality. Why should I believe that this new season of Mandalorian, even if you enjoyed the first 2, is going to be any different? And so I think that's where the bulk of that drop off comes, because again, we forget sometimes because we're in this kind of isolated space here, and we're talking about Gina Carano all the time. Love Gina, but that's not a qualifying factor for the majority of people out there that are Disney Plus subscribers and will be otherwise tuning in.
Luckily, though, they do have Young Jedi Adventures and all based in the High Republic to come save the day, folks.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. If they didn't do so with the books and everything, what makes them think that the show is going to actually do? They're going to try to pull the same move that Marvel probably did with the superheroes in the comics that didn't work. They're going to try to bring Acolyte in and go ahead bring in the High Republic, which didn't really work because of the fact that not too many people know about the Star Wars High Republic and everything. Also, going on to not meaning to shift gears and everything with The Last of Us, I guarantee you they're stretching it out and everything before they get to the part 2, but that's going to be based on the video games and all of that because of the fact that the fan reception, or they might get to the people who aren't familiar with the video games and stuff to go ahead and get them tuned into that. But most likely going to have the same reaction as those who are the gamers as well.
Great points. Let's look now, because there is something very interesting about receiving these Nielsen numbers today. And Valiant, the reason that I was not prepared for the Nielsen numbers to come out is because we simply didn't know what was going on at Nielsen. There was this very bizarre situation last week where all of a sudden Nielsen did not report their numbers at all. Yeah. And there's an article that came out this morning on thatparkplace.com. That's the website that I work for, Jonas works for, Valiant posts over there some. Shoot, we'll pull all of you eventually, but thatparkplace.com, this one by Pam Fitzgerald, last week's non-public Nielsen numbers bad for Disney Plus. I don't know whether or not this is some sort of conspiracy. I don't know if Nielsen hid this to help Disney. Now, we're seeing these Mandalorian numbers. They're not good, but I mean, this is really looking bad all around. I want to show you this. It starts off by saying something strange was going on last week as we waited for the Nielsen numbers that never materialized. For the first time we can recall, the ratings were kept private. Thankfully, we have them and we're sharing them. And so if we go down here, we can actually see the streaming numbers for the prior week, which was not made public by Nielsen. No idea why that is. But I will tell you this, it was awful. It was awful for Disney. In fact, if you look at the top 10 overall, only Bluey appeared for Disney. If you look at streaming movies, and we're going to look at that in just a moment, Black Panther Wakanda Forever continues its precipitous drop. It debuted at over 2 billion minutes, and just in a matter of weeks, it's dropped to 375 million minutes watched. Encanto, for the very first time since it debuted on Disney Plus, is no longer even on the charts. Moana is now there, but Encanto has dropped off. And what we're seeing, this is amazing to me, and I enjoyed reading this from Pam earlier today, but it's amazing to me that 6 months ago, 12 months ago, Disney was all over the charts. Now, look at this. We've got HBO Max. HBO Max is right up there. And in my opinion, at the top level, at the top content, HBO Max is now defeating Disney. I would have never thought this could even happen a year ago.
And don't forget, HBO Max is unique on this chart because it is the only one that suffers from the quote-unquote disadvantage of having its viewership numbers split.
Yep.
Because the HBO Max, if again, The Last of Us is acquired content for HBO Max, not original. It's original content for HBO, which is a linear broadcast delivery service, which does not appear on these charts. So you've got more viewership. You've got millions of more viewership on the HBO linear, in addition to what pops up on the streaming charts. So it's even bigger than what appears here. And congratulations on Season 3 premiere of The Mandalorian beating Bluey by about 15%.
Ooh.
Okay, I've got something else. We've got to look at this, everybody. And again, breaking news, so we're going through this. We will get to the Nintendo Cinematic Universe. We are going to have to put off watching some content that was sent to us from Lauren Connor as we're doing this breaking content. So, Lauren, I do apologize. We're taking this as we go. And then also we'll probably not get to discuss John Wick 4, which deserves a ton of conversation, but we're not going to get to discuss it as much as I would like. However, I do want to bring everybody's attention to this. Look at this. This is unbelievable. In movies, just movies, Black Panther Wakanda Forever now. Okay, remember, debuted over 2 billion minutes. And that would have seemed to have indicated, okay, we've got something now. This is going to have a major hold. Black Panther Wakanda Forever was nearly knocked off by Moana, a movie from Disney that came out in 2000, I believe, 16. Well, this is crazy.
Technically, it was knocked off by Moana. It was knocked off and by Megan as well. Black Panther Wakanda Forever had a near 3-hour runtime. Moana and Megan are both about 90 minutes.
Point.
They're both about 90 minutes.
Right.
Well, look at that. This brand new movie right here, one of Ryan Reynolds' greatest films, R.I.P.D., just blowing away Disney. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Minions Rise of Gru.
Yep.
On a $100 million budget.
Yep.
And wait, and that's because Minions Rise of Gru just made it to Netflix because for the previous 4 months, it was on Peacock as part of the first 4 months of the pay one window. The second 10 months, it goes to Netflix. See, Universal still has those multi-billion-dollar deals that Disney decided, nah, we don't want any of that money.
Dollar bills, y'all.
It also shows that there's many more happy little kids on Netflix than it is on Peacock.
Yeah, well, man, this is impressive, though, because just looking at this, I am amazed that I'm not trying to be negative about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. What I'm amazed about is that there is no Strange World. There is no Lightyear. There is no Turning Red.
Not amazed
by that. There is no Encanto. I know, but it's remarkable to me that there is nothing.
Can I make Disney. It worse for you?
Make it well, yeah, go for it.
Okay. Can we also consider the fact that Peacock, and as we just stipulated, Megan down there, with about a 90-minute runtime, about half that of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Peacock also has, about half the subs of Disney+?
And you're saying that based on the runtime, then Megan essentially doubled the viewership of Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
It wrecked it.
By household.
It wrecked it.
Oh, my gosh. Poor Disney.
And when you consider the subscribers that Peacock has available, it's even dumber.
Mm-hmm.
And let's make note too. I think this is worth mentioning that South Park. What season are we in?
25,000.
26.
26. Okay, I was close.
So Family Guy, nowhere to be found.
Super chat in the back, by the way, for the
Family Guy, nowhere to be found.
Simpsons, it's written by manatees. Everybody knows.
All of these cartoons that have been around for 20, 30 years, nowhere to be found. South Park still has it somehow. South Park is still right there guiding the culture somehow.
Well, it's because they're willing to tell. I don't watch South Park, or I haven't watched them since high school, which just shows how long they've been on the air. They tell truth.
Straight up, no chaser. South Park does not shy away from coming right at you with social commentary.
And
No
again,
doubt.
South Park is split between HBO Max. They've got South Park elements that are on other streaming services. They've got South Park that's available mostly on Comedy Central. I mean, this is just HBO Max South Park.
That's true because it is also on Hulu too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Is it still on Hulu?
Yeah, for like on demand. If you,
It's not. I don't think it's on Hulu anymore.
I was going to say because HBO bought out the Hulu deal, and then now that's what Paramount is getting sued over is because
the movies
of the movies in quotations.
But you know what shows are coming to Hulu, right?
What if somebody wants theirs well done?
We ask them politely yet firmly to leave.
I love King of the Hill.
And don't forget,
we need rest. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is spongy and bruised.
Oh boy.
But South Park clearly in the league.
Yes.
Wow.
You want it. You really want Hulu. It's possible Hulu wants you to, but
what is
there's
going
one
on?
way to ask it.
La, 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 la.
Magic.
Hold on, I
Magic.
thought King of the Hill was already on Hulu.
Oh, it is. The reboot's coming.
There is no way that they put that song into that Disney movie. I mean, come on. All these woke people make
Don't kiss the girl. That's what they'll call it now.
There is hope that movie is not going to be that bad because they're trying
permission
to
before kissing the
do
girl.
it. It might lead to a big lawsuit.
First, you need to get your documents, or you will get sued, or worse.
Get it all in order, and then you can kiss the girl.
No, you know, kiss the non-gender specific person.
No, you must get
Or the
consent
boy.
first.
He's the birthing person.
Or the non-binary individual.